Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the DATEABLE podcast, a show all about modern dating, modern romance, modern love, and how people sometimes can fuck up all of it. But we're here to help you navigate through it all. That is our mission in life. Someone asked me the other day, what's your mission with the DATEABLE podcast? And I said, it's to help people fuck up less.
Hey, a lot of things come down to that, right? A lot of times, if you look at dating, it doesn't have to be as hard as it is a lot of the times. A lot of times it's our own self getting in our own way.
We're always getting in our own way. And that is why our Finding Your Person program is there to help you get out of your own way. We created this program because we kept seeing the same patterns of behavior with every person we talked to who was having a hard time. They were stuck in their dating life, and we know exactly why they were getting stuck. That's what we created this program, because we think the better people can get at dating, the better our experience will be.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting because it really did take us doing this for 5 years, I think, to get to the point of this. I feel like we had a similar idea a very long time ago, but I don't think it would have come to fruition in the same way at all. It definitely wasn't about finding your person. I think it took us doing a lot of the soul searching of, why do people come to Dateable? What is it ultimately that we want to get out of Dateable? And, instead of going through probably 250 episodes, we've kind of summarized this all into actionable steps to, deliver the same learnings that it took us all this time to dissect and analyze and put together.
Yes. And on a similar note is we have a lot of new listeners coming in on a weekly basis. And they always ask, where do I start? You have so many episodes. So we thought, instead of directing them to a specific season or episode, let's start with this program first, because that really is like the filter for all the best information we have out there. And we've put it all in one place. And then you can go back through all the previous episodes if you want deeper learning from each one.
Yeah, I definitely mentioned this on an episode we did with Marty Batista back in the day. I think it was like season 9 or 10. I forget exactly where it was. But she actually was influential for my dating journey.
Yep.
Back in the day, she sent a zip drive in the mail. Like one of those, a scan drive. A USB scan drive. She sent a USB scan drive in the mail. That's how I received it. This was so long ago. But it was, the core was, similar, like, breaking through what are the patterns, and then also like how to use the tools at your disposal. And honestly, so much has even changed since then. But I felt like doing something that like forced me to sit down and kind of get out of my comfort zone a little, but really like ultimately my goal was to find that person. And I think having that program at the time was so instrumental, and I'm really excited that we can do something similar. I kind of feel like we're like giving back all these years later, but it's a totally different twist. It's completely different. I mean, honestly, so much has changed even in those short years.
So much. Well, first of all, it's not on USB. It's all online.
Right. There's the change in itself.
That's how it's delivered. But people have asked what is involved. If you're on the fence about this program, totally understand. And we launched this with early bird on Saturday, and then we released early bird on Sunday. And spots are filling up fast. So we know that people want this information. If you're on the fence, you want to know what's involved, here it is. It's delivered in audio format, because that's what we do best, audio. It really depends on how fast you go through the sessions, but you do you. Pace yourself. With each session comes an accompanying interactive workbook, so you can keep track. It's almost like journaling, get all your thoughts out there, but also organized. And we have a shit ton of bonus material, which includes live sessions with Julie and I. We also have this secret group that we pull you into. We have all this dating setback toolbox kit, basically, for any time you get ghosted or any of the douchebag behavior. You just refer back to that.
Dating profile checklist.
The dating profile checklist is our number one seller when we were doing coaching. It is everything you need to go through if you're trying to figure out how to have the best profile online. What should you put in your bio? How your photos should be. All of that. How you should be presenting yourself online. It's all there, and it's extremely comprehensive. So that's just the gist of what a funny word. That's just a gist of what you're getting with the
Sounds
finding.
Sounds kind of dirty.
It does, right? I don't know why I've never thought about that till just now. It was like the gist.
The gist?
Juicy.
Same thing.
Same thing. But with the program, that is just a part of what you'll be getting, but there's also just so much more. Julie and I have gone through this by ourselves because we wanted to test it out. It truly worked for us. It has worked for some of our other members as well, that unknowingly was part of our experiment of testing out what we call the positive refact method. It's a proprietary method that we've developed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and I think that was the big piece, is that we knew that people tended to reflect so much that they never did anything. It was like the state of purgatory. It was like, just how do I become the best version of me and all that. And that's great, but there needs to be a point where some action comes in.
Yes.
And then we saw others just repeating the same things over and over again, or getting fed up by apps, for instance, and just repeating, uninstalling, reinstalling, uninstalling, reinstalling. And it's like the definition of insanity. So I think like for us, we really wanted to kind of figure out a way that we blend those two also with positivity, because we know that that's a key factor of just how do you maintain the positivity throughout this whole thing? Because I mean, dating is tough. Like, no one's going to deny that. And I think like we'd be kind of ignorant to say that there's even doing this program, there's not going to be like any downs within it, but it's like, how do you get through it? How do you like maintain that positivity so you don't kind of give up hope, and you know, the next person could be right around the corner.
This may sound really morbid, but someone told me this recently and I was like, yes, when you're on your deathbed, you're not thinking about your career accomplishments, how much money you made, the house that you lived in. Your last thoughts are always the human connections that you made in your lifetime, and the most meaningful connections. And this is why we're putting so much emphasis on this program, because finding your person, whatever that may mean to you, is going to be one of the most important, impactful decisions of your life, and arguably maybe the most impactful. So it is so important for us to get this information out there to you all and to have you try this out, because it worked for us.
Yeah, I love the Sheryl Sandberg quote from Lean In that was like, the most important indicator of success in your career is your partner. Because ultimately, like, there's, you know, like your day-to-day happiness. If you're with the right person, you can be so happy. And if you're with the wrong person, it can be the complete opposite. Like, there's studies that are, you know, single people are actually kind of in the middle. Like the happiest people are people that are in happy, healthy relationships and marriages. But if you're in a bad relationship or a situationship or bad string of dates, whatever that may be, like that's the room, like that's the area that's the most concerning almost.
Oh, it's dangerous.
It is. So it's like who you pick is so important, and knowing like what matters to you and knowing like when to even walk away is important in this process, because that always makes room for the right person. So we're going to go into all of that. I think another revelation I've had over the last year with our Facebook group is that I think I've used dating apps completely different than everyone else in that group. And I'm really excited to share some of the secrets and some of the tools that we've done that haven't made it as freaking painful and actually brought real relationships from dating apps. So I think like there's so much opportunity there, and I'm really excited to share that piece specifically.
And to make dating fun. That's
yes,
what it's tended to be. You're trying to find a partner. That should be a fun thing. It shouldn't feel like you're doing your chores.
No. Oh, it's so funny how like the words that are used to describe dating. And, you know, I like the reflection too of you meeting your partner. like IRL and years later after meeting each other. I think that's so interesting that we bring that perspective with like myself meeting people more primarily on dating apps.
Yep. When you're being prepped to meet someone you're meant to meet, you're going to meet them somehow. And you just got to use every avenue, because you never know when that person's going to turn the corner. You're like, there you are. I've been prepping myself for you, and you have been doing the same. How nice.
I know. It is like all warm and jittery talking about this, though. It's so nice.
Yeah, because if we can bring that kind of happiness to everyone, that kind of wholeness in a way, it would just, I think we can just be so fulfilled in what we do, because that's our purpose with Dateable.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, I mean, I shared this in the Facebook group, but like this reflection of, I mean, I definitely was happy single. Like, I don't think I wasn't happy single, but I don't think I realized like the level of happiness that I could obtain with the right person.
Yeah. But that is also related to this episode, because in our program we talk about building confidence, and for this episode we are interviewing the queen of confidence,
Serena fucking Kerrigan.
She has not legally changed her name, but she really should. But she is all about being unapologetically confident in who you are, and kind of that take it or leave it mentality, which I love. It's so badass.
Absolutely. Like, as we're on the topic of mindset, I feel like she is such a good example of someone that, you know, completely shifts her mindset. And I think it's going to be really fun to build on this episode too in the program for whoever's in it, with actual exercises and ways to do that, because she demonstrates firsthand how important that is.
She's kind of like the North Star of confidence. And then in our program, we show you the steps to achieve that North Star. Because
you all might know her. She did an Instagram dating show called Let's Fucking Date. And I feel like we got a lot of people sending us messages being like, you need to check this out with what this woman is doing, because it hasn't been done before. And I mean, I love thinking about it too. It's like, just picture everyone's on their own dating show. Every time you're swiping, it's a dating show just for you, where you're the star.
It's so empowering. It is absolutely empowering. Speaking of being on your own dating show, this is kind of related, Julie, but, you know, just stay with me because you know how I get. I was at a friend's house recently. He's recently single. I'm going to shout him out right now. His name is Ben. I really wanted to introduce him to some nice women, but also just to check up on him and see he's doing well. And he's been on this reflection path recently. Okay. That's what happens after a breakup, right? You reflect, totally. And you're like, what did I do wrong? What could have been better? And he says something so provocative, and I said, I'm going to share this on Dateable, because he's a runner. Okay. And he, at any given time when you're running, there's other people running on the path. And sometimes a lot of us get very judgmental. You know, we're like, why is this person running so fast? Or why are they running so slow? And why do they look like they're running kind of funny? And he experienced this recently because he was trying to do a long distance run, and his friend was making fun of him because he was paced so slow. And he said, this is how dating is. You never know where someone is on their journey, and you can't judge them for that snapshot in time. Because you don't know if they're on this 20-mile marathon run, or it's a 2-mile sprint, or they are recovering from an injury, or they're just starting to run. You don't know, and you cannot say anything about just a snapshot. And that's what online dating sometimes is. We get a snapshot of someone's life. Yep. But you never know what someone's going through and what their journey is like. So he was saying how that helped him create more empathy towards, getting back out there and dating again.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good way to put it, because, I mean, even, as you're getting to know another human being, like there's been, in some cases, like 30 plus years that they've lived a life before you've gotten to know them. And it's such a fascinating thing of just two people coming together. And I think it's like finding the right person is, first of all, finding them, but then also navigating through it when it's actually, once you found the person. I feel like that's like step one. And then the step two is how do you actually get through it with them? And like long term, is this the right person? And that's why, you know, sometimes like relationships can ebb and flow. Like sometimes, I don't know how long they were together.
7 years.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, those are the things though. And it's like hard. It's sometimes easy to think that it failed or there's something happened, right? And it's like back to the drawing board. But some of that is just an evolution. And that's the reality of it. It's always a gamble.
Yeah. You either evolve together or you evolve apart. That's just the truth of relationships we all have to deal with. But at least if you create a strong foundation, you can take that with you anywhere.
Exactly. I think that is the key, is that you need the confidence of knowing that even if things don't work out, you're going to be okay. And like to get back out there and like keep on your journey kind of thing.
Keep trucking along.
So shall we get into some announcements? I mean, we had a big one. The card is now open, findingyourperson.com. We definitely want you to get in there before the spots are taken. Kind of time is at the essence. This will only be available through the end of the week. If this has been something that's been floating, there is payment plan options too. So there's definitely many ways to go about doing this if this is something that you feel like would, you know, help you in life.
Yes. Get in on it. And we really appreciate all the DMs you've been sending with your questions. So if you have questions, feel free to do that. Find us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast. We'd be happy to answer any concerns, questions that you have.
Follow us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast. Good segue to that. And then find us on Love in the Time of Corona by the Dateable Podcast on our public Facebook group. This will not be the same group that you're put into for Love in the Time, for Finding Your Person. We did have a question about that. So that is our public group. As long as you identify yourself and we think that you're a legit person, you will be allowed into that.
And there is a question. Are you a confident or a narcissist? That's a trick question to see how self-aware you are.
Yes, we'll add that one.